Now you realize that I tricked you into coming. Yes, please. Okay. Call to order for a Watertown City Council meeting for July 7th of 2025. Please rise while State Senator, former Deputy Mayor, good friend of all of ours, Glenn Vilhauer leads us in prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we gather tonight. It's a time of transition. We are so grateful for those that have served so diligently for so long, and we specifically mention Randy Tupper, Mike Danforth, and Bruce Bueller, and the service that they have provided so selflessly to the city over the course of the years, and the wisdom and guidance that you have given them. Now we also ask your hand of blessing on the new people coming in now, that you also guide them to make decisions that are pleasing to you. And now we thank you for all the public servants across the city that work so hard to run this city and hopefully run it the way you would like to be seen. And now these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Finance Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay. Peters,
Here.
Shetty,
Here.
Tupper,
Here.
Bueller, Danforth, absent, Helene,
Here.
Jurens.
Here.
Thank you.
Quorum is established. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda with one change. We will be removing item 7E. We're removing 7E from the consent agenda. And we're just striking that completely off the agenda. So with that change, chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Motion made by Councilman Bueller.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Tupper. Any conversation on that? All those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We're on to open forum. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on something that is not on tonight's agenda? I'll close open forum and we will go straight into item 11A, which is an approval of a lease agreement of this Watertown Municipal Events Center between the City of Watertown and Santo Tequila, South Dakota, LLC. We'll go to our city attorney, Lisa Carrico, for more.
There we go. Okay. Still learning the equipment. Thank you, Mayor. Council, you have here before you a lease for the Watertown Event Center. You probably already know, but I'll say for purposes of the public that the Ramcota was sold, and WR Hospitality, which used to operate Minerva's and the Event Center, gave notice of termination of their lease with the City of Watertown. At that time, the interim city manager, in consultation with members of the city council, explored how to move forward. Given the events that were already scheduled for this year and the coming year, we approached the owners of Santo Tequila to see if they were interested in leasing the event center. Santo Tequila is obviously the ones taking over the Minerva's location, but not operating it as Minerva's. They were actually very excited about it. We then met with city staff internally to go over the lease terms themselves over the years to see what we could do better. In order for the city to handle the day-to-day operations, which was one thing that was explored, the city would have had to have budgeted for additional staff and obviously take on the coordination of event room reservations, food and beverage, all of that. We looked into other municipalities that have event centers and just to see if they do something differently, but they tend to do it the same way, which is to lease it out to another company to run it. So we decided to go that route. Some highlights of the contract. The city previously took care of basically all of the maintenance. They took care of the utilities. They took care of the capital improvements. In this situation, we decided in lieu of rent, we are recommending that rather than them pay us rent, that they retain the revenue, but then would be responsible for a lot of those day-to-day maintenance issues. Obviously, the bigger items, which I'm going to say is like the roof, let's say there's a replacement of a water heater, those type of items, would be paid for by the city if it was within the city's budget. and we had the allocations for that. Otherwise, they take care of the utilities, they take care of, you know, you break a chair, you buy a chair. So it's kind of that concept. And they will take care of the utilities, I think I already said that one. As for the performance theater, the revenue from the performance theater, it will be split 50-50 between the city and the tenant. However, the city will be dedicating those funds to basically performance theater improvements. So anything with the sound system, stage lighting, that sort of thing, to keep that operational. There is a termination period in the lease. It's 30 days if either party defaults under the agreement. But it's 180 days if we just decide to part ways. So you always have that ability, and so do they, to just say, you know, this isn't working the way we thought it would. We'd like to part ways. And we just give 180 days notice to allow both sides to kind of, you know, get their ducks in a row for a transition. Now, I think it's important to also note that while the tenant is not required to keep the event center staff, they weren't city employees or anything like that, they do plan to retain the event center staff as long as they're willing. And so they will be working for Santo Tequila moving forward. And I think that the agreement, and I think the mayor, who we've sat down with them several times, I think it's good terms for success, as I guess that's how I would put it. And I'm also here to answer any questions, if you have any.
Thank you very much. I will open a public hearing. Is there anyone, actually, no, I don't need to open a public hearing, however. And I would just like to add a big thank you to all the city staff, obviously led by then interim city manager Bob Zine, who went to a whole lot of meetings, but there's also a whole lot of other city staff from HR Director Darcy Nichols, Chaz Spellman, Justin Peterson. I know I'm forgetting a few, but I wanted to thank everyone for going to many, many meetings for that. So I will accept a motion to approve the lease agreement. Motion made by Councilman Shudy. Seconded by Councilman Bueller. Let's open it up for questions or comments, council. Councilman Tupper.
I was in on a few of those very first meetings, and I'm kind of excited to see where the property goes. I think the people that are taking it over are very, very open to a lot of things, and I just think they're gonna do a tremendous job. I've had a lot of calls, people concerned with the type of food they're gonna have at their events. That won't change any, just because it's being run by a group that's gonna run a Mexican restaurant where Minerva's is. No, you're not gonna be stuck with tacos at your wedding party, but I believe that they're quite a large company. They have quite a few locations. I think they'll do the event center a great justice, and I look forward to seeing it move ahead.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the lease agreement. All those in favor will say aye, opposed nay. Please call the roll.
Okay. Peters?
Aye.
Shudy?
Aye.
Tupper?
Right.
Bueller? Holleen?
Aye.
Jurenth?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Item 12A is an application for a transfer of ownership of a retail liquor license and video lottery license from WR Capital, doing business as Minerva's Restaurant and Bar, to Sina, how would I pronounce that? Sina Watertown LLC, doing business as Santo Tequila at the same location. I would also like to say that item 12B is an application for a transfer of ownership of a retail malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license and video lottery license from the same entity to the same entity. So 12A and 12B are essentially the same thing, so I will allow both staff and council the leniency to speak to both items at once. But we will take up a motion first on 12A, so Finance Officer Bob Zine.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as stated, this will be a transfer of ownership. The notice has been published, all fees have been paid, everything's in line for the transfer. If there's any questions, I can answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. And just if anyone has not connected the dots, this is at the event center. So this is from WR Capital is the entity that had Minerva's, and they are transferring everything over to Santo Tequila. So I will open a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? I'll close the public hearing, go into council action. Can I get a motion to approve the transfer? Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Peters. Any questions or comments, council? All right, hearing none. Motion is to approve the transfer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 12B, same thing, is application for a transfer of ownership of retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license and video lottery license from WR Capital to Santo Tequila. Anything to add? All right. I will open a public, excuse me, public hearing on this one. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Can I get a motion to approve the transfer? Motion made by Councilman Bueller, seconded by Councilman Peters. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the transfer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 12C is a second reading of an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Watertown for a portion of property to be known as the replat of lots 2, 3, and 4 Mansell Second Edition and Lot 5A of Mansell Third Edition from R1 Single Family Residential District to PUD Planned Unit Development District. We'll go to, is it Community Development Manager Hanton or City Engineer Peterson? Community Development Manager Hanton.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So as stated, this is the second reading for the PUD rezone request for the property owner and developer Campsco LLC. If I pull up here, yep, I'm on. So this area is along South Lake Drive, north of Toby Slough, and south of like southeast of the Sandy Shore area, as I have pulled up on the screen. So what we're here, what's here before you is the rezone for the PUD planned unit development. So they have a total of 3.85 acres, and that does meet the minimum lot requirements for a PUD, which is 3 acres. What is helpful, so in the PUD, they have to lay out what their density is, their open spaces, just all of these items that are in their PUD plans and their narrative that are locked in if this PUD is approved by city council. So the maximum density that they're proposing is the 8 units or 2 fourplexes. And that density is actually less dense than an R1 single-family residential district that it is currently zoned today. So I did create this exhibit to try to help explain these different areas that we're looking at. So the green hatched area is what is the developable area, because obviously there is Toby Slough and there are jurisdictional wetlands that they have had delineated through the Army Corps of Engineers. So they are showing on their PUD plan that all of the areas, well, everything in that purple hatching is open space, and that will not be developed. And then that green space, that is the only area that could be developed, and that is also the, if this were to stay as R1 single family, they could develop around 10 to 11 single-family houses, because they actually, as they're doing with this proposal, you can include wetland areas within a lot, you just can't develop it, unless you get your proper permitting through the Corps. But with this PUD plan, they are showing and reserving that that wetland area will not be developed. And if they plan on developing it, they do have to come back and amend their PUD through Planning Commission and City Council. So they are being specific, and that is what PUDs are used for. Obviously, this request did come to Planning Commission and City Council previously requesting R3, which was ultimately denied. And then that is why they're here now with the PUD be very specific on their development plans because there is developable area on this property. The Planning Commission did recommend approval unanimously at their previous meeting, and with that, I'll stand by if there's any questions.
Thank you. I will open a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? Okay. We'll just say the two developers are here in the audience, and they will stand by for questions. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this item? I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Can I get a motion to amend the zoning map? Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Questions or comments? Councilman Tupper.
Wow, I'm just glad after, I think this has been in front of us about 7 times, that we finally come to a conclusion that we can be good to developers. They've came to us with one of the best plans anybody's ever brought to us. I admire their hard work and dedication and not giving up on this. I look forward to seeing your gentlemen's finished product when you're all done. I know you guys will do a class act, so it's just nice to finally get this off the slate. I'd like to thank Community Development Manager Hanton for all of her hard work and dedication, and with City Engineer Peterson. Couldn't do it without all you guys' hard work, and you guys never gave up on this, so it's been a long, drawn-out process, and thank God it's finally gonna come to fruition, and it's not that hard to deal with the city of Watertown, so thank you very much.
Councilman Shoddy.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, I appreciate Randy or Ms. Hanton putting together some of this data that shows what, potentially 11 houses, give or take, on that, on the portion where they're going to be putting the 2 fourplexes, right? So we're going to have 8 units, if you will, versus 11, let's say there. So compared to an R1, that it just shows that we're actually going to get less structures on this PUD than if it were an R1. So we're still going to, keep the wetlands protected. We're going to have some structures on there for homes for people to live in. So, there was some concerned citizens, neighborhood. That's what we like to see, is people coming up and sharing their thoughts. And so having the developer with their plan, having the, you as a city working through it, but then having the community, having citizens come up and share. I like to think that through this process, especially now as you shared some of these details even a little more tonight, we can see that with the 11 versus 8, let's say, units, we're actually going to be a little better off making it a PUD. And so as for voting on this, I think that's worth taking that in consideration tonight. And I like to think even citizens hopefully can see with this data you shared tonight, they can see that this fits. Because we like to see a buy-in. We like to see neighborhoods. Last thing we want to see is neighborhoods, complaining against the developer complaining against the city, and all this and that. We want to see us work together, and I like to think this process, and now with what you shared tonight, helps us see that, I think we can all buy in this a little bit better with the work we've all done to get here. So I appreciate the developer, what they're bringing to the table, and I appreciate what you showed tonight on the statistics on it.
Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I'd like to say thanks to all you folks that worked on this, and I think, Randy, it was 9 times we probably looked at this thing. But no, I think we landed on the right thing. I think we were doing the right thing with this. And just, kind of something for the new incoming council folks too, and I don't mean to be preachy, but, one thing we always have to look at, is this the right thing for the neighborhood? And how do the neighbors feel about it? Again, that goes back to the small town, how we work together. But the big thing is on something like this is that it's the right thing to do, but it's also gonna protect us down the road. If we zone this R3, there's so many different things that they could put in there that, we have no control over. So the PUD was the perfect choice, I think, for this, to manage this properly, to make sure that land use is done correctly. So just in the future, just always be thinking about down the road. When you make these decisions, when you make these choices, you're doing the right thing for what could happen, not what's happening today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Hearing none, the motion is to amend the zoning map. All those in favor will say aye, opposed nay. Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay. Peters?
Aye.
Shetty?
Aye.
Tupper?
Aye.
Bueller? Holleen?
Aye.
Jurens? Motion carries.
Motion carries. We're on to city council member announcements and introduction of topics for future discussion. Councilman Tupper.
You know, it's not far from the 4th of July. I'm not done yet, so. You know, we had quite the challenge this weekend with the 4th of July celebration. I've had the privilege of working with some great people over the last 4 years, putting on the fireworks display, and I couldn't do it without a lot of the staff, believe it or not. Finance department, I even get involved with them, the mayor, street department, police department, fire department, solid waste department, park and rec department. I was still getting phone calls today about a couple things out there that need to be taken care of. But it's truly been my pleasure to do it, and I'm not saying I'm not gonna do it again. It's a year away from now, but the consumer shoot that we always put on, that's to try to prevent the police officers from having to work a little bit harder, and that's to allow residents of Watertown to have a place to shoot. Yeah, this is my 5th year doing that. It was just outstanding. I mean, it's the biggest crowd we've ever had. I always go down the next morning and pick up all the stuff and put it in the dumpsters. I've never ever filled one dumpster. This year I filled 2 and another one half full. So it was a steady crowd all night long. I've never seen so many spectators that come out to watch everybody else shoot the fireworks. I would guess to say at one time we probably had close to 100 spectators, and I've never seen more than maybe 8 or 10. But it was just, you know, and the funny thing about it is I always bring a big golf cart from work. It's got 6 seats, and I'll shuttle people from Anza Soccer Field over to Premier with all their fireworks and their family and chairs and all that. And some of those people I've seen all 5 years. You know, you really don't have to give them directions as far as being, you know, the safety part of it. And the crew from Lou's Fireworks comes out and they set up shooting stations. Most shooting stations we've ever had, and we used every one of them, and some of them 3-4 times over. So great thing for the community. Just, you know, and we didn't have any issues other than one little issue where somebody was shooting a bottle rockets and stuff out in the grass, and we didn't want to see fire, so that was easily taken care of. But it just goes to show that the community can behave when you give them a place to behave at. But when we got down to the fireworks and we got to Friday night and got looking at the weather all day long, and I know city manager was calling me, the mayor was calling me, everybody in town was calling me, what are we gonna do? The weather kept, every time I looked at the radar, kept changing. Yeah, I didn't get to do it till 10, and then pretty soon it was, 4 o'clock, and finally at 5 o'clock I talked to the mayor, and I said, well, you can always call it. And he said, I'm not gonna call it, so. And I said, well, I'm gonna make one call, and I called Jeff Bendix, who put on the show for us this year from our KM Fireworks. I just finally told him, and me and him had been in contact back and forth all day. I said, I'm just gonna call it, that's all there is to it, and thank God I made the right call, because it was definitely not, I know I got about almost 1.5 inches of rain at home, but when it came down at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, it was pouring, so we continued on till Saturday. You know, they got the DJ lined up, or DJ was set up, the bouncy houses were set up, all the fireworks were set up, and what a beautiful evening. And God, did we have a crowd. Probably one of the biggest crowds I saw. It was a little bit later crowd than normal, but I suppose most people have been celebrating the 4th for 2 days already before that, so they got out a little bit later, but put on a tremendous show. I mean, I've had more compliments than I think I ever have, so everything went off without a hitch. My fellow councilman and good friend, Councilman Bueller, did another outstanding job of singing the national anthem for us. It's been my pleasure to do it, and I just want to thank some of the sponsors that have always helped me out. And You know, I know you guys have heard both me and the mayor talk on the radio about shop local. Well, it's things like this is the reason why I believe that, because we wouldn't have that show if it wasn't for the local businesses that I come and knock on their door every year and get contributions. And a lot of other people are knocking on those doors getting contributions for softball or baseball or benefits. And I know where I work, there's somebody comes in the door almost every day looking for a contribution. So that's what makes it easy to do, not only this job as a council member, but do the fireworks, is it's such a great giving community. So I'm gonna take a minute here and thank our sponsors. Better put my glasses on this time, Bruce, so I can read them. Our platinum sponsors this year were Premier Bank Card, Glacial Lakes Energy. Our gold sponsors are Sign Pro, Max Steel, Evolution Power Sports, Ingalls Family Foundation, Lake Area Technical College, Stone Truck Stop, Custom Fab, Dakota Bank, Persona, Watertown Ford Chrysler, Watertown Community Foundation, Watertown Municipal Utilities, Dakota Tube, Dakota Bodies, McKeever's Vending, Platinum Realty, Reliabank, and our silver sponsors this year is Watertown Box, Spice Corporation, Four Amigos, Riley's Repair, and our bronze sponsors are Elite Sewer and Drain, First Bank and Trust, Eastside Equipment, and Glenn and Darla Vilhauer. Think of those people when you are going out shopping and thank them when you walk into their place of business. That's how important it is to a nice, small community, a big city with a small town heart. How's that? It's been fun. And not saying I won't do it again next year. I think the mayor's trying to voluntold me already, but like I say, I couldn't do it without the great staff. Police department, fire department, I lean on quite a bit, and all the other departments. Just couldn't do it without them. There's hardly a department that I don't touch, put it that way, so I couldn't do it without all their help and support, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilman, for taking that on, taking point on that. I know I appreciate it very much, and I think thousands of people in Watertown and the area do as well. Any other announcements? I actually do have one, special one. It is with some mixed emotions, so I guess it's some joy of having known two of these gentlemen. The third is not here right now, but I just want to say for Bruce and Randy, I want to thank you for the years of friendship. I know we've been serving for years together, and just want to say I've leaned on you as friends, as colleagues, as mentors. I think the city of Watertown is better off for your service. And I don't think that there's anything that can be better said about a person than that. So thank you very much. And you're not going to get out of here without some recognition of the work that you've done. So Kelly, we're going to need a photograph up here. And I'm going to need Councilman Bueller and Councilman Tupper up here. Now, I just want to be clear that as mayor, I have only ever given out one key to the city. I figure it is something that should be viewed as something very special. And I think that you two definitely deserve this. It's just one plaque for you two to share. I will let you know after you get this. So this is in honor of Bruce Bueller. And it is for both of them. It is in grateful appreciation for your years of outstanding service and dedication as a member of the Watertown City Council. On behalf of the entire community, we thank you. Ace Harbor. So we will get it fixed, but Randy as well, again, I just want to say for the years that you have put in to make this community better,
I do have another comment or two.
So I want to just thank both of you, and that's for everyone in the community. Councilman Bueller.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's been a pleasure, it's been an honor to serve for this city these past 14 years, and there's a few folks I want to thank, but first off, I'd like to thank my wife. All the hours, all the days, the meetings that I attend, and she's at home alone. And I just so appreciate that, having her for a support system in my life, that's for sure. Also, I'd like to thank the folks from my ward that trusted me, elected me to start with, and allowed me to continue in this position. It truly has been an honor to do this. The staff, I can't say enough. I know I've thanked you before, but we just have a great staff here. We're very fortunate. It's easy for us to do a lot of the things that we do because we have that. Also, I'd like to thank the mayor. I think he's done a bang-up job in that position all in his tenure here. And I just so appreciate his efforts. And also, I want to thank my fellow council folks. You guys have just been great to work with. We've all gotten along, and that's huge. That's a big deal. Because some places they don't. And I hope we can continue down that path where we all work as a team and we all get along, and we have agreements. That's just how it goes. But it's been a real pleasure working with all of you folks. So with that, I just want to say it's been an honor. It's been great serving Watertown, this great city.
Council. Yeah. Councilman Tupper.
I just want to kind of go along with about the same thing Bruce said. I couldn't have did this without great family support. My wife and your wife should have got together, but the communities between Councilman Danforth and Councilman Bueller and myself are leaving 34 years of experience behind. So it's going to be a challenge to Councilman Jerns, Councilman Peters, Councilman Shetty, but I know they're all up for the challenge, and they will do an excellent job. Little something for the new council coming in, I'll tell you. One of the comments Bruce made was, you need to get along. And I haven't always been the easiest one to get along with. Will you agree to that, Bruce?
No, Randy, I don't agree with that.
But one thing about it, I left it at the door when we walked out the door at the end of the night, and I always had the utmost respect for everybody else's opinions. The newcomers that are coming in, you can't govern by emotion. You can't govern by social media. If you get into the social media part of it and you get caught up into that little triangle there in Facebook, things like that, you're fighting a losing battle before you ever get started. Don't get yourself involved in it. And you also, and I know Steve don't like it when I say this, but, and Mike doesn't probably neither, but you can't govern by media. You have to govern by what your heart tells you, and you gotta be willing to listen. You gotta be able to come into a meeting with an open mind. And if you're coming on this council with an agenda, check it at the door, because it isn't gonna work. Because there's a lot of great people here that aren't gonna allow your agenda to take over. So, and I don't believe anybody is coming in with an agenda. I would like to personally thank the staff. Alan, you inherited some of the best. And the mayor? Nobody wears that W on his chest more proudly than the mayor does. It's truly been my honor.
will set the bar pretty high for the newcomers. In at least 8 years on the council, Councilman Tupper has never once missed a meeting. Not one. So just keep that in your back of your mind, especially in today's age of being able to go online. You know, you know where the bar is set. So I want to thank both of you. Any other council announcements? Any city manager report?
I'll give a brief report. It's a tough act to follow. I'm 8 days on the job, and I've had a great opportunity. I've met with all 15 of my direct reports, and I'm enthused by what the team brings. We have a very talented professional team. Our city is in great hands with the team that we have. Next up, I'm going to be spending some time with the new council to form the relationship with the new council to see how I can serve the council and how our team can work together for the betterment of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to, after we adjourn, take about a 5-minute recess while we get the council situated with seating and just make sure that we've got everything set. So we'll just be at a brief pause after we take the motion to adjourn. We have no reason to go into executive session. I am going to use my mayor's privilege and pass the gavel to the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. My last official duty as deputy mayor, I will look for a motion to adjourn this meeting. So moved. Councilman Bueller and Councilman Jurens. Yeah, Councilman Jurens is second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, it's been my honor. This meeting is adjourned.
You gotta bang the gavel.
Gavel
7th of 2025. We will first call on the roll. Okay, yeah, we'll take the oath first. So we need to basically form as a body. So we have a situation here where earlier today, we did not know if our city attorney, Lisa Carrico, was going to be here. So in a staff meeting, we thought of who else would be a good person to administer the oath. And so I called up my good friend and State Senator Glenn Villahauer, who has been up in this esteemed body for many years. And he was going to be here anyway, so so it worked out fantastic. So I asked Glenn to administer the oath to me, and I have asked, I think it's okay with the rest of the incoming city council members. So I will come out onto the other side of the platform to take my oath.
First of all, I would like to say I don't quite rise to the position of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and I hope nobody tries to impeach you for not getting sworn in properly. I'd just like to say this, though. This is kind of a unique experience. Well, one for me, because I've always been on the other side of the swearing in, but from the mayor's perspective, we have to go back to the mid-90s, somewhere in there, since we've last had a mayor get sworn in for a second term. You've got to go back to Brenda Barger's days when she got sworn in, probably in the second time, probably in 96, somewhere in there, or 97. So it's been a long time. So with that in mind, let's get the job done, Reed.
Yeah, we didn't know what to do.
Okay.
Actually, I'm good.
Okay. Raise your hand and repeat after me.
I,
I
Reed Helene,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of
mayor
of Watertown, South Dakota, to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Senator Villahauer, now please induct the other 3 new members of the Watertown City Council.
We're going to do this as a group, so come on up, you 3. And again, if I screw it up, don't be surprised. Okay, and kind of speak to yeah, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Michael Walker,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of City Councilor of Watertown, South Dakota.
discharge the duties of the office of City Council
Of Watertown, South Dakota. My bad there. To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for not repeating my bad there.
That's right.
I'm going to have you sit right here. Okay. And just to let everyone know, the seating arrangement of the city council, about 2 years ago, we instituted a rule that the seating arrangement changes every 6 months. So we randomize it at the beginning of next meeting, and then that seating arrangement will be for 6 months, and then 6 months later, it will change again. And that's just to make sure that everyone has a different experience of sitting in a different seat, just as we changed the voting order, because we wanted to make that fair, because we didn't want people with, well, Councilman Albertson, we changed it after he left, and he was always regretful that he voted first on every item in his entire tenure as a city councilman. So just to be fair, we thought we would randomize that as well, so. Now, let's call the roll.
Okay, is everybody ready? Okay. Allen,
Here.
Hoyer,
Here.
Pauline,
Here.
Mormon,
Here.
Jurens,
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Shuddy.
Here.
Thank you.
Quorum is established. Chair will accept a motion to approve tonight's agenda with one change. We are removing item 11A from the agenda. Removing item 11A with that change. Can I get a motion? Motion made by Councilman Shuddy. Seconded by Councilman Peters. Any question on the agenda? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We are now on to open forum. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on something that is not on tonight's agenda? I'll close open forum and go straight into item 7A, which is an introduction of new patrol officers. Chief Toomey.
Good evening, council, mayor. Congratulations to the new members of council. We feel it's extremely important to introduce our new officers to the council members. That way you have a face to the men and women that are proudly serving our community. It is my honor to introduce our three newest officers. We've been really, really fortunate on our recruitment efforts, and we get the best of the best, especially Lake Area Tech, where we got Enrique from. We have the pick of the litter, so we got the best of the best, and they all come with their own accolades. I would first like to introduce Officer Katie Schmeling. Katie, if you want to stand up. Katie is originally from Bearsford, South Dakota. Katie has a distinguished background, having served in the South Dakota Army National Guard for 4 years and Alaska Army National Guard for 2 years, earning an honorable discharge. She is currently pursuing a degree in criminal justice and addiction studies part-time at USD, demonstrating her dedication to lifelong learning and community service. Before joining the WPD, Katie worked in banking, but her passion for helping others led her to pursue a career in law enforcement. So, welcome to Watertown. This is Officer Katie Schmeling. Next up, Officer Michael Fate, if you want to stand up. Mike was raised in the north suburbs of the Twin Cities and spent his childhood coming to Watertown to visit his grandfather, aunts, and uncles. Mike moved to Watertown roughly 2 years ago to be closer to his family and for the hunting, fishing, and small-town lifestyle that Watertown has to offer. Mike previously worked in the collections industry, so hopefully you guys are paying your bills, as a team supervisor where he managed a team of 15 employees. After moving to Watertown, Mike wanted to give back to the community and serve in a role where he could directly help others and make a positive impact. This is how he came to work for the Watertown Police Department. Mike is a very mature and respectable officer, and it's proud to have him on the force. And our newest officer, Enrique. Enrique, like I said earlier, he was handpicked from the graduates at Lake Area Tech. Enrique Garcia officially started his deployment as a patrol officer with the Watertown Police Department on May 30th of this year. Enrique was born in Tucson. I did go to college. Tucson, Arizona. He moved to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and graduated from Lincoln High School. Enrique attended Lake Area Technical College, majoring in law enforcement, and graduated this year in May. Enrique is married and enjoys hunting and fishing. He is bilingual with English and Spanish, which will be a great asset to our team, and we're proud to have you. Thank you for that opportunity.
I want to thank you for being here. I know it might be awkward to stand in front of a city council, but there are quite a few people who watch it, and I know I've talked with the chief for quite a few years about how important it is to have this attitude in the community that when something is wrong or they need help, people run to a police officer for help, because that's something that makes Watertown such a great place to live, is our police force, our people who take care of public safety are definitely our friends and allies, and we want to promote that culture to the best of our ability here. So, and Officer Fate already helped me with a hit and run earlier today, so on my car, so that was good.
What was your bond?
So, And Officer Schmaling, I apologize, I didn't recognize you in your police outfit. I knew her in the banking world, so. But welcome very much, and Officer Garcia, thank you very much for being here. And we wish you many great years ahead of you for serving the community of Watertown. So, our next duty is an election of the deputy mayor. For those who do not know, the deputy mayor position is one that if I am not present as mayor to preside over a meeting, then the deputy mayor fills in, or if I am temporarily absent, the deputy mayor steps in. There are very few limited other powers as deputy mayor, but it is a position that we have used in the past and will continue to do so in the future. So we will accept. So just to explain how to everyone this happens, we will take nominations from the floor. You cannot nominate yourself, as far as I can tell, but you do not need a second. So just one nomination, one person nominating something. You do have to accept the nomination, however. So you can't just nominate someone who has no idea that they're going to be nominated and if they don't want it. So you just need a nomination, and then you will have, and then we'll see how many people will be running for the office. If there is more than one, I will allow each candidate a chance to speak. I'm going to instruct Councilman Jurens to send a text message to Finance Officer Bob Zine to tell him your vote. So that way it is confidential. None of us on the council knows what that is. And we will vote, and we will collect all the votes and give them to Finance Officer Bob Zine. So none of us up here will know what the vote tally is, but we will all get a chance to vote. You do need a majority, so if there is more than 2 people running and we don't have a majority, the person with the lowest vote total will be taken out, and then we will vote again until we get a majority vote. Are there any questions as to the process? Okay. I will accept nominations for deputy mayor. Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councilman Peters for deputy mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilman Peters, do you accept that nomination?
If that comes with a side of Tylenol, then yes, I will. I accept.
Are there any other nominations? All right. I will close the nominations, and in light of one candidate running, I will dispense with the voting and just say thank you, Councilman Peters, for stepping up to serve. So maybe at next meeting you get to sit next to me, but right now I'm going to have Doug here with me. Thank you very much. We'll go on to item 7C, a review of South Dakota open meetings laws brochure, open meetings laws. And we'll go to our city attorney, Lisa Carrico.
Thank you, Mayor. For the public and for council, in the last legislative session, the state legislature adopted South Dakota Codified Law 1-2513, which requires the governing body to basically go over the open meeting laws in a public meeting annually. It's an annual review. So this is our first time doing it. So bear with me, and I'm sure there will be room improvement for me next year. But I have provided council with what has been provided by the Attorney General's office. It's also available on the website for the public, for anyone who wishes to access it. It basically contains the laws dealing with the open meetings and what is executive session and public records, and then it also answers some general questions. Obviously, the whole point of the open meeting laws is to provide as much information as possible to the public. However, as we all know, there are certain items that are proper for executive session, The main ones are usually things like, obviously, consultation with the attorney about litigation, contract negotiations, personnel matters. Sometimes, in very rare occasions, if we're negotiating with another business, whether it's a vendor or maybe it's a contractor or somebody that's gonna do a build, and we're asking them for what I'm gonna call financial information about their business, we may go into executive session to discuss that because that is really their private information. And so we will go in just for that purpose of being able to exchange that information, and that information stays confidential and is not revealed to the public. I don't think people realize that a lot of that does happen. The state's attorney is the one who actually receives any complaints. If someone were to complain that something was not done or should have been in the public. And then the state's attorney is the one who will, a couple of things can happen. They can decide to prosecute, which I believe is a Class 1 misdemeanor. Or they can decide if they've reviewed the file and it doesn't have any merit, they basically determine that and then they provide that result to the Attorney General's office for their records. They can also refer it to the South Dakota Open Meetings Committee, or Commission, I should say. I have not experienced that yet. I don't think our current state's attorney has yet, but that is some option that our current state's attorney has. And then the other is actually just to direct it to the Attorney General's office to prosecute for violations of the open meeting laws. Now, working groups, and as an example, when the mayor appointed the midterm review committee, those type of working groups, where the governing body is the one who basically appoints them and accepts that they're gonna be a committee, any reports that they issue are provided to the public. So that's why the midterm review committee did come before the council and gave a public report on what they did and what they determined and the results that they had. Meeting packets, people can always access our meeting packets. We always post them online. And if people were to ask, we can have them printed and available to them. And that usually contains the documents that, they will see at the council meeting and that the council will see. One thing to keep in mind is normally whatever gets posted on the agenda, the council sees at the same time that the public sees it. There are times where we have a line item on the agenda where no document is provided. In those situations, that also means the council hasn't seen it. And sometimes that it's just, how would I say this? It happens. It's a work of nature. Usually it's something that maybe we're pushing up on a deadline, or the other party hasn't gotten back to us with their changes or suggested changes, but we're on a time crunch. So obviously we know that it's coming and it'll show up on the agenda and the council and the public will see it at the same time. However, usually you guys know that it's coming. You just haven't seen the actual language. And the reason I say that is because sometimes the public will think if it's not attached to the agenda packet, council's already seen it and they've done stuff with it, and we don't know what it is until the very last minute. That's actually not the case. If they're seeing it for the first time is when the council's seen it for the first time. So, emails. So this is more for the council, but also for the public. I don't think they realize. We advise council not to send group emails to each other because this can be construed as a meeting that is to be open to the public. Council will then, because your normal reaction is to reply to all and make a comment about something else that somebody did, and next thing you know, everybody's conversing, and that is a meeting. So we tell council you cannot do that. So now you can email the mayor. That's what we usually advise you to do, so that the mayor can then assess whether it would be something to discuss in a work session, whether staff should be initiated, or the city manager, so that we know what to do next. And then we kind of take the temperature of individual council members to see if it's something that you want to put on a work session and develop. Gatherings. Obviously, you're done with a council meeting and you leave, and maybe you have coffee later on in the week, or lunch, or a beer, or whatever it is. leave it to 3. If you have more than 3 council people, you have a quorum, and then it's considered a meeting, and the public doesn't know. Some of you may have seen that there has been some municipalities that apparently got in the paper recently for doing that, and I believe they were, inadvertently not realizing that they have a quorum. They think they're just, somebody else walks in, right? Through 2 of you or 3 of you or somewhere, somebody else walks in, sits down, now you're all conversing. It can be construed as a meeting, you would just want to avoid that. And that is also brought up in your pamphlet as well. Let me see, what else could I say? Emails, we post our agenda, we post it online and outside. Let's see. And I think that is it. We do also, in the situations though, where the council has been invited to another meeting of a different entity, or like an ice breaking or something like that, where all of you want to come, what the finance officer does is when they post the agenda, they post it as a notice of a quorum. In other words, there's not gonna be any action, but we're telling you that at this location, there could be a quorum because all of council may want to attend. This usually happens when the council will go to the annual meeting of the Watertown Development Company, and then the others would be ice breakings and things like that. Or ground breakings, sorry, I should say. The other thing that is not listed in here, but I did want to call attention to the public and to the council is, for this statute, it's 1-27-1.5. These are records that are not considered public. And it basically gives a laundry list of information that is not available to the public. And usually it is personnel information. It can also be designs of what we're gonna call critical systems of buildings. So when contractors or developers, when they provide plans to Community Development Manager Hanton, depending on what the plans are, some of those will not be given to a public individual who comes and wants to see them, depending on if it's a critical system. So that's just an example. And I think that's it, unless you, council, have any questions.
I will open it up for questions or comments from the council. Does anyone have any questions? I do have one, City Attorney Carrico. With emails, I know at sometimes there has been the use of the blind CC, which is a tool that you have on your email where if you hit blind CC, you can include people. They can read your email, but they cannot reply.
Correct.
So therefore, you do not generate a conversation.
Yes, that
what
is our
the-
guardrail, correct.
What is the legality of that?
That is how we basically produce a guardrail, because there are going to be what we're gonna call dissemination of information to the entire body. So someone will send an email, and whether it's me or the city manager or the finance officer, and they will disseminate to all of the council, but they will blind copy them, so it prevents the council from being able to reply all and hit all of council, so that now we're having this back and forth conversation. So it's really a one-way announcement. But yes, we do use that, and so far, so good.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Any further questions? All right, thank you for that. Moving on to item 8A, which is an approval of a bid award for a taxiway improvement project, project number 2316, to J&J Earthworks Incorporated in the amount of, roughly $4,172,000, pending FAA grant award and authorization for the city manager to sign an FAA grant application, FAA grant offer, and all necessary paperwork for the construction contract documents. We'll go to our airport director, Ian Merriweather. City engineer, Justin Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This project is related to taxiway B and C at the airport. I have it. I don't know if I can share my screen. There it is. So it's B and C is extending here. The city received 5 bids. J&J Earthworks was a low bid, and staff recommends award. This action also includes authorization for the city manager to sign the necessary paperwork for the FAA grant and the contract documents. With that, stand by for questions.
All right, thank you very much. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the bid award and the signing of all applicable documents. Motion made by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Shetty. Any questions or comments, council? Councilman Peters.
Justin, I see that this is 24% under the estimate. More a question around the trending. Are you continuing to see trends under the estimates? Because the last few that have come, and I just have to ask the question because they continue to come in shockingly low. Do you think that we're overestimating, or do you think that things are slowing down to where the pricing is becoming more competitive? Because 24%, I love to see that. I'm just wondering if we need to maybe look and see how we're estimating these projects. Or we can just tell the public we're saving them 24%. Whatever you want to do is fine with me.
I think there's probably been kind of an adjustment this year, maybe for a variety of reasons, you know, work slowing down or whatever it might be, but, you know, the bids all come pretty close together, so, they're all underneath our estimate, so I guess, we use, past projects as estimating of future projects, so this will just be one of the data points that we'll adjust for future.
Thank you, Councilman. City Engineer Peterson, I know I have one. I think the public should know what are the chances of getting this FAA grant award and what would happen to the project if we do not get it.
There you go. There's been indications that this grant is pretty positive that we'll receive it. If for some reason we don't receive the grant, we just wouldn't move forward with the project. But I will mention that this project, the grant, is likely going to be in August when we hear back from it, and construction will start in 2026.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All right. Hearing none, the motion is to approve the project and authorize the city manager to sign the documents. All those in favor will say aye, opposed nay. Officer Babzine, please call the roll.
Okay. Allen?
Aye.
Hoyer?
Aye.
Helene?
Aye.
Mormon?
Aye.
Jurens? Peters?
Aye.
Shetty?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Item 8B is an approval of a bid award for the 2025 Airport Improvements SRE Roof Repair Project 2521 to the roofers and restoration in the amount of $439,531. We'll go to City Engineer Justin Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. This is another project at the airport. The SRE building roof had damage due to a storm last year. The city received an insurance claim which covers the entirety of this contract amount, and staff recommends award. I'll stand by for questions.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the bid award.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Allen. Seconded by Councilman Hoyer. Open it up for questions or comments. So, City Engineer Peterson, just to make it clear, again, I think it's good for people to know insurance is covering this,
Correct.
all of it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always good to make clear to everyone. It's not always the case. All right, any further questions? All those in favor of the bid award will say aye, opposed nay. Officer Babzine.
Okay. Allen?
Aye.
Hoyer?
Aye.
Helene?
Aye.
Mormon?
Aye.
Jurens? Is Lynn still on, or is he on Teams?
Councilman Jurens, are you still on? You know, he's,
We're gonna-
he's,
Yep, we're gonna
yeah.
pass. Okay. Okay. Peters?
Aye.
Shetty?
Aye.
Motion carries.
motion carries. Councilman Jurens is, attending as long as his internet connection allows. He is driving to a necessary meeting, so we are granting him that leniency. Item 9A is a first reading of an ordinance revising the City of Watertown ordinances to amend ordinance Title 12. City Engineer Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the first reading of ordinance. It's related to mobile vending or food trucks. Staff has been getting more requests for food trucks in the last few years. And the closest permit we have is material on the street permit. Really doesn't apply. So we took a look at other cities for examples of food truck ordinances, and then some of them are pretty complex. We tried to simplify it. The permit itself will allow food trucks in the downtown area and in certain areas of commercial industrial, if approved. They can apply for a one-time event license if it's just a one-time thing, or if it's more of a seasonal type thing, they can get a seasonal permit that covers the whole year. It lists the requirements that they need to meet. One of them is the limits the spaces to 3 diagonal parking spaces or 2 parallel parking spaces. What that does is essentially they have to unhook their trailer. So that's really the spaces there. There's some time restrictions. They also need to get a merchant license and a state food license. And they can't park in front of fire hydrants or handicapped spots. If there's any questions, we'll stand by for answers.
Thank you. This is a first reading. There is no reason to take action, so I'll just open it up for questions. Councilman Hoyer.
So looking at it right now, it's sounding like it's pretty focused on food trucks. I do know we have the use of multiple, not trailers, but more so of a cart in town, and that most of those get occupied on the sidewalk. Is this prohibiting the use on the sidewalk?
It's not prohibiting the use on sidewalk. The limits on the sidewalk would really have to have 5-foot spacing for ADA.
Okay, just sticking to those previous requirements that were with the materials on street permit. Sorry, that's,
Yep.
yes. Perfect.
Any further questions? All right, thank you. We'll see this back at the next meeting. Item 10A is an application for a new retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm Wine license to DBE Willow Creek LLC, doing business as Dakota Butcher's Restaurant. Finance Officer Kristen Bobzien.
There we go. Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yes, in front of the council is a new retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm Wine. Notice has been published, all fees have been paid, it's the same location. The reason this is coming forward as a new license versus a transfer of the other license is just the timing. But everything is in order, I can answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Can I get a motion to approve the license? Motion made by Councilman Peters. Seconded by Councilman Shetty. Let's open it up for questions or comments. Councilman Hoyer.
I'd like to recuse myself.
Thank you very much. Please have that be noted. Any other questions? And Councilman Hoyer, you can still ask questions or make a comment, obviously. I just want to make that clear for everyone. If this ever comes up again, you can still ask questions or comments. You're just choosing to recuse yourself. So, any further questions or comments? All right, hearing nothing, I will be okay with a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the license, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 10B is an application for a new retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm Wine license to Maria Rodriguez, doing business as La Fiesta Snack at 101 North Broadway. Officer Bobzien.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yes, on this one, it's also a new retail malt beverage, South Dakota Farm Wine. Notice has been published, fees have been paid, and it's also been approved for the location. So if there's any questions, I can answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open a public hearing. Is there someone who would like to testify on this item? I will close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Can I get a motion to approve the license? Excuse me.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Allen, seconded by Councilman Peters. Thank you. Councilman Hoyer.
I would once again like to recuse myself.
Thank you. Councilman Peters.
Kristen, just a quick question for you. There's, as a reminder, there's no limit to how many retail on-off sale we can do in town, right? There's no limit?
No limit for the malt beverage. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any question or comment? I would just go to a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the license, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 11B is an approval of a budget supplement in the amount of $93,000 roughly for 2025 in order to renew a contract with Axon for a term of 10 years with a 5-year option for consideration and authorization for the city manager to sign the contract. Chief Toomey, you have more information for us.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could have IT share my screen. I do have a brief presentation to hopefully answer some of your questions, and we at the police department understand the extent of this contract. I think this is the largest contract that I've ever been a part of. So we take that responsibility to heart. Back when we first started with Axon, it was 2015. Prior to that, we spent a 2-year journey exploring all the different vendors, talking to all different agencies. We really did a thorough examination of all the different vendors and landed on Axon. Luckily, they have turned out to be the nation leader in body-worn cameras, fleet cameras, and especially tasers. So I'll shoot through this presentation. We're requesting approval for a 10-year renewal contract. What that is, it's considering all the equipment, services, and everything all bundled together. It equals just over $1 million, and then it's broken up over 10 years. So it's not really like you're paying for the service for each year. It's the total cost broken up over 10 years. So I can remember when I first started, I had a little cassette recorder with little tapes. I don't know if you had that when you were in, but that's how we recorded our contacts. Then we went to 8mm dash cams that were literally 8mm cameras that were just outfitted for your dash cam, and we've evolved all the way to where we are today. This is a video from Axon, just kind of explaining the advancing, how technology is advancing. Sorry.
The idea of survival of the most adaptable. In nature and in business, the choice is often a simple one: evolve or go extinct. Some industries have learned the hard way what happens when they don't adapt to changing technologies and the power of the internet. Law enforcement is in danger of being left behind too. Unless we embrace them, new technologies threaten our ability to keep communities safe. What will you do when a crime ring uses self-driving cars to traffic drugs or explosives? Or when your systems are targeted by hackers that outflank your IT staff? Or when you can't trace a crime scene weapon because it was 3D printed in some guy's basement? These examples sound extreme, but in today's dynamic times, they're no longer impossible. Technology is accelerating at a pace that's faster than at any other time in human history. How is your agency going to adapt? Who will stay ahead of technological advances for your department? Taser will. We've done it before with our electrical weapons, and again by harnessing the potential of video and the cloud to bring you Axon and Evidence.com. And we'll continue to transform law enforcement with breakthrough technologies to protect life and protect truth. For us, it's a simple choice: evolve or go extinct. It was.
So this has really been a game changer in the modernization of policing. So why do we have tasers? Tasers are electronic devices. They cause neuromuscular disruption. They literally have been a game changer for use of force in Watertown as well as across the country. In the last 10 years, we've had what's called just a taser deployment, so that if you have to just point it at somebody, just to get cooperation, to de-escalate, to somebody's violent and you don't want to use force, we call that a deployment. In the last 10 years, we've deployed our taser 192 times. Out of those 192 times, we've only had to shoot the taser 31 times. So the 160 plus times, we de-escalated the situation, and we had no use of force other than just merely showing the taser. If you've ever been tased and somebody points one at you, you're going to comply because it's not fun. But it's a less lethal force. It's so effective for de-escalation. It gives us an opportunity to not use a bullet. And Rick Smith, the CEO of Axon, that's his mission in life. That's his moonshot, he calls it, is to eliminate the bullet. He does not want another officer to fire a bullet. So they are on the forefront of technology, and they've been incredible partners over the last 10 years. Body-worn cameras. My gosh, what a game changer. In 2015, we implemented these body-worn cameras, and our officer complaints that we get from the public dropped dramatically. Plus, the time it takes to investigate those complaints dropped dramatically. Once somebody thinks they're on camera, whether it's on either side of the badge, they behave better. So once everybody knows they're being recorded, it's a better outcome. Also, what a great training tool. I mean, when our officers are out there and they make a mistake, well, we got video of it, and we can go back and review that, and we can get better. For court purposes, there's no better evidence, right? It's on video. I think courts expect it now. Video is expected at every case, and we record everything. They can't alter it. They can't. We prohibit them from shutting them off. So any enforcement action has to be recorded on their body camera, and it's all stored in the cloud. Officer safety, we have with Axon Now, one of their latest innovations is live respond. So if I have an officer in the field who gets themselves in trouble and they're in a high risk situation, a supervisor or a dispatcher can actually log into that video live and see what's going on. If they go to a hazardous spill or a fire, and we need to relay that information to dispatch so it could get to the other first responders, we have live video of it right there on scene. So it's been a game changer. This is a video of Officer Bicey. She was dispatched to a domestic violence or family disturbance. She went by herself. It's at night. You'll notice that it's dark. The cameras are designed to see how the eye sees. That way, when it goes to court, if somebody pulls out a cell phone and the officer perceived it as something else, the video is designed to see what the eye actually sees. They could enhance it. They could do night vision and all that, but Axon does not want to do that. But this is a good example of the use of a body cam as well as the use of a taser. And if you know Officer Bicey, she's about 5'3", but she's tough. This man is twice her size and completely naked.
523211054. What's going on? Back up! Back up! Back up! Back up! What are you doing? Back up! Back up, sir! Back up! Back up, sir! Taser, 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 taser! 5232110. Taser deployment. Turn over. Turn over. Turn on your stomach. Turn on your stomach.
My assistant chief made the dramatic effect. There's no better example than that, because if not for that taser, what could she have done if that guy attacked her? She would have had to use lethal force. She did an outstanding job. Oops. So why do we have fleet cameras? Everything works together with Axon, your fleet camera, your body camera, your taser. If you turn on your taser, it turns on all the cameras. Every officer's camera works off of each other's camera. So if an officer rolls on scene and somebody has their overheads on, that's gonna automatically turn their camera on as well, so that they don't have to always constantly be thinking about turning on their cameras. So everything works with each other. Fleet cameras document pursuits, they document traffic. If we're responding to a scene and maybe the suspect left, the camera's already on, so we're capturing that video as they're leaving. So it's a great investigative tool. Again, for court evidence for DUIs, you're capturing the driving behavior on those fleet cameras. ALPRs, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But again, everything works together. It's a great resource for training, and it also gives a full view of different angles from a scene. So you have responding officers to a big scene. You got different angles. You get to examine what happened from several different angles. It's a game changer. I keep saying that, but it really is. So ALPRs, which stands for Automatic License Plate Readers. Back last year, I believe it was April 1st, we were approved to implement these license plate readers. These are mobile license plate readers, so they work out of our actual equipment, our fleet cameras. So there was no additional cameras. There's no stationary cameras out there or anything like that. There are cameras that are driving around all day. They're installed in 13 of our vehicles. We have a very strict policy that goes along with that, which I'll get into that a little bit. But they are the next level of game changing. If you have a silver alert, which is a missing elderly person with Alzheimer's, if you have an amber alert, if you have a kidnapping, if you have somebody on the terrorist watch list, these license plate readers are automatically out there just reading license plates. That's all they do. And if there's a hit, if one of those license plates is on a list, it will alert the officer. So say I'm a patrol officer, I'm driving around, there's a murder suspect that's fled from Sioux Falls, and Sioux Falls enters that into the LPR system. Our cameras are automatically looking for that. So they come into town, all of a sudden they go through a red light, we don't know who they are, our car goes by, automatically reads that license plate, and we'll give a siren and say, warning, this is a wanted vehicle, and give you the reasons why. We cannot act on just that. We have to verify it, whether it's through NCIC or through dispatch. Sometimes they're not perfect. They might give a different state. They might read the license plate wrong. So everything is verified. It's such a great investigative tool. If we have somebody that's delivering drugs around the area, we can really track where they've been. So if I have a vehicle that I have legal reason to be looking into, I just punch them into the license plate reader database, and it will tell me if our cars caught them on while they're driving around and where they were. It's really 13 additional eyes out there for us. Our officers cannot in no way read all the different plates as they're going through Walmart parking lot. But it will automatically, if it comes across a stolen vehicle, it will automatically alert the officer that vehicle is stolen. There debates around town, so Brookings has these, Madison has them, Sioux Falls has them, Rapid City has them. I'm not sure of any other agencies, but there's always a concern about the Fourth Amendment and whether this is illegal search and seizure. You have that debate when it comes to facial recognition, which we don't use, and it's not even incorporated in this. But the Fourth Amendment, obviously, you know this, but protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. What you expose to the public is that you don't have an expectation of privacy. So you put your garbage out at the curb. You don't have an expectation of privacy of that garbage. You're driving your car around, you don't have an expectation of privacy for that license plate. So it's really just seeing what an officer is seeing, but is doing it so much more efficiently. It's really multiplying our manpower. So there has been Supreme Court that ruled it's not a violation of the Fourth Amendment. US v. Knotts, US v. Diaz, there's plenty of court cases out there that supports the use of LPRs. It takes an agency with a strict policy and administrative oversight of these to make sure that they're being used appropriately. I took an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution, and I take that very seriously. We do have administrators that view this, what's being put in, the hot list every day. We're making sure it's current. We're making sure that Billy Bob's not checking on his son's girlfriend and those types of things. It would be a total inappropriate use of that. But again, it's something that the officer could just write the plate down. He could run it himself. So this is just doing it for us. It's been a game changer in our investigative world, but we've had domestic violence suspects on the run. We've had people from Sioux Falls that have committed serious crimes that we've caught because of this LPR. And it has protected our officers by knowing what they're walking up to. So it's incredible. So why Axon? Axon is a trusted partner for 10 years. Like I said, we did an extreme, I was part of that examination of all the different vendors. Axon is the leader in the industry. We have not had a single issue with the evidence storage, the materials. If we had a body cam that went bad, they replaced it immediately. They've just been incredible to work with. Sorry, did I change it? Their tools enhance our safety, our transparency, our efficiency. I think the public depends on it. They want us to have it. They want to look at the body cam. Just on Wednesday, I'm meeting with a family who alleged that we treated one of their family members poorly, and the body cam completely says we treated that person with the utmost compassion and care. So now I get to sit down with that family and show them what really happened, you know, and I understand the emotion that's involved in that, and that's the first instinct is to think the police are bad, right? But I think what we've seen over the years is that body cams have supported the good that our police are doing. All services are bundled together. Why we need to renew now is, right now I think we have 5 different contracts that were all developed at different times, so it got really cumbersome on what was due when and how much we were paying for what. So this will streamline everything. It combines it into one package, and I'll get into the caveats of that here in a minute. But camera refreshes every 2.5 years. We'll own the equipment. They will send a team that will train us. They'll install all the equipment in our vehicles. With this contract comes virtual reality training, so it's just like you have the goggles. They send a team down there. They teach you how to use the virtual reality goggles and how to de-escalate situations. So we own the equipment, but every 2.5 years, they'll replace it with the next best technology that they have. Tasers are replaced every 5 years. So currently now they're at the next taser in line is what's called the Taser 10. Right now we use T7s, which is a heavier duty cartridge. You have 2 cartridges, so you have 2 shots at hitting your target. With the Taser 10, you actually have 10 shots. So you'll have 10 cartridges. You'll have 1 cartridge that is your first charge. You need 2 cartridges to make a connection. So you'll have 9 additional shots to try and de-escalate that before you have to use all other means. We own the equipment. Everything's under warranty. There's no questions asked. The evidence storage is incredible. Right now, we maintain about 30 terabytes of video with them in the cloud. It's got triple redundancy, so in 3 different locations in the country, they have their servers. We will never lose our data. And we've never had an issue where we've lost any video. We work seamlessly with the prosecutor, who is also on evidence.com, so when we have a case, it all just goes through the internet. There's no more copying it on CDs or DVDs or thumb drives. They just log in and they have the video right away. Another point to make is when it comes to privacy is this is the property of the police department. We don't share these. There's no sunshine law or anything like that that people could get these. The only way they can get them is with a subpoena through an attorney. So we don't share this with the public at all. Also in evidence.com that we have what's called the community portal. So say we have a kidnapping at a park and we have a dozen witnesses that all had video running. They could just go to our portal, download their video right into the cloud. It's secure. If we have a child pornography case and somebody has the evidence, they can upload it into evidence.com. It's all secure. It's all encrypted. Axon does not have copies of. They don't have access to it. It's all encrypted with our own agency, ORI. So they can't see what it is unless we give them access. It also has transcription, so an officer doesn't have to write. I mean, we could just get a transcription automatically generated. AI is changing the world for them. Now it's coming where all we're going to have to do is hold the driver's license up to the camera, and it will automatically run it through NCIC. You won't have to call it in. You won't have to write it down. It will take all that data from the driver's license, run it to the NCIC, and then kick back if it's a wanted individual. Oh, let me go back to that slide. So TASER 10s, I spoke about the Axon Body 4s. It comes with signal sidearm, so if you pull your duty weapon out of your holster, it automatically activates your body camera. Refresh every 2.5. The software, evidence.com licensing, it's 34 licenses. We don't license for all command staff or detectives. We share a license just to be more financially responsible. Fleet 3 is the same way. It has incorporated ALPR. If we go with the 10-year contract, that's free. If we go with a 5-year contract, which I'll show you the difference here in a second, it's at a discounted price. It's got real-time GPS. I could just look on a map right on evidence.com, and I can see where each one of my officers are. If an officer goes down in the field, all we got to do is pop up this map, and we got a GPS location right where they're at. So if they get ambushed or anything like that, God forbid. The fleet cameras have front and back cameras, so when we put somebody in the cage in the back of the seat, it's all recorded. And again, it's a free upgrade. So there are two options on the table for us that we would recommend, and I would highly recommend the 10-year, because what happened was in 2015 we negotiated the contract. In 2021, our contract came due. That's when the previous chief left and left me to deal with the contract, which was a $54,000 increase at that time. The reason they do it that way, because there's no inflationary increases. So for 5 years, we didn't have any inflationary increase. They tag you at the end of that for your next contract to get that inflationary 8 to 10% increase. This year, when we started negotiating, we knew it was going to run out. We started negotiating it. It was about 2 months ago. It was a 73% increase. I almost had a heart attack. I'm like, there's no way this is going to happen. So for the last 2 months, I've been negotiating with TASER, with the salesman. We got it down to a 40% increase. And that is the best we could do. So if we lock it in at 10 years, we're locked in with no inflationary costs for 10 years, which is a huge benefit. If you figure 8 to 10% each year, I mean, you could have a huge increase. So per user, per month, it's $110 for a body-worn camera per month. For a TASER, it's $92 per user per month. And for the fleet camera, it's $140 per vehicle per month. So as you can tell, for $343 for the 10-year or $319 for the, plus the 14 fleet cameras, it's a pretty good investment, right? It's an insurance policy. So I think it's an investment into our officers. So as you can see, the difference between the 10-year and the 5-year, there is a little bit more of an increase, a 4.25 increase in the 10-year, and that's, I really couldn't get an answer why they did that. But for the 5-year, it's a 40.13% increase. But again, you lock yourself into that 10-year contract. So if you approve the 10-year contract, it would take a $93,457 budget supplement for this year. And what does that pay for? That pays for all the brand new equipment. In October, if we sign it now, between September and October, all the new equipment would arrive. Every officer would be equipped with a new TASER, a new body cam. Each one of our vehicles would have a brand new camera system, including cradle points. Everything would be installed by them. They send a whole team up here. They take care of everything. We will get virtual reality training, and a whole team will come up to get us started. So that's their initial cost. So they break it up, the $1 million into 10 years, and that they need that initial first year spend. And there was no way of getting around that. They tried breaking it up where it was a little less expensive this year, but more expensive next year. After conferring with the finance officer, we felt this was the best way to go. 5-year program, it's an expected spend of $54,000 in 2025, but it's $122,000 per year from that point on. The 10-year is $110,000. The contract that is attached to the agenda, I just found out this afternoon that there was an accounting error by Axon. I had just received a new one by email, so everything that I've talked about here is the actual contract. It's $93,000 would be the supplement. So what's included? Unlimited digital storage. That's huge. I think IT could support me on this. 30 terabytes of data to have servers to maintain that and have redundancy, and to have retention in there. What I mean by retention is South Dakota law dictates how long you hold evidence for. To set all those rules up and to maintain that would be very cumbersome, and it would be overtaxing for our IT staff to do that. So the digital storage is a game changer, plus the access and the sharing with other agencies. If Madison, Wisconsin needed one of our videos, and we could just send them a link and they can download it. You can see on the screen the other benefits. The ALPRs are at no cost for the 10-year contract. And just for fun, I'm just going to show you what it's like to be tased.
Look, get in here close.
This was me 10 years ago.
We good? Good, go. Tase, tase, tase. Woo! Put it on safe. You're good. Lay back down again.
So you can see it, the recovery is automatic. You know, just put it on a loop. Yeah. It's like being put in a garbage disposal for 5 seconds, but after that 5 seconds, you're done, and you want to give up because you don't want to take that ride again. Before this, we had OC spray, which is, to me, cruel and unusual. I mean, it's horrible, because you spray it, it takes you 45 minutes to decontaminate, and even after that, it's horrible. So this has been a game changer, and you've all seen the videos. Don't tase me, bro. I mean, people complain. When the new ones will actually have a siren on them, so when you turn them on, it will go whoop, like it's charging. So when people key into that, we're like, oh, okay, I'll do what you tell me to do. So.
Look, get in here close.
No, I didn't want to play it again. So I believe Axon is the only option. We had reached out to Motorola, G-Tech, Unity. There's several other body cam providers. They can't even come close to what they provide, that Axon provides. And it's huge. We maintain transparency with the community, being able to show a family the body camera and show exactly what happened. Also, determining when we do make mistakes, because we do make mistakes, and correcting those. It's just a game changer. So I respectfully request the city to approve the contract as well as the $93,457 supplement for the 2025 year budget. We recognize it's a huge investment by this community, but it's an investment in our officer safety as well as into the trust of our department. I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the budget supplement. Motion made by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Mormon. Let's open it up for questions or comments. Council. Councilman Hoyer.
So you briefly touched on it, Chief Toomey, but some of the controversy that comes out of Axon, as well as the use of AI within it, is our department currently using the AI feature for doing their reports that transcribes, or are we not using that yet?
We are not using that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're waiting to see how that all shakes out, yeah.
Fair, yeah, because when you look into Axon, that's the first thing, aside from the other stuff that comes up, is just the potential for mistranscribing.
Right.
And not actually getting the process. But, so just to be clear, as of now, we're still doing our normal standard write out your own police report
Absolutely.
process. Okay.
Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, thank you for your work on this, Chief, and others who are involved with your staff. But I just had a question, I guess. I would assume the answer is yes, but are we ahead of the bar or on bar, as far as the standard, industry standard, where are we at in comparison? Are we staying ahead of the game here and with technology and with this company? And
With this company, we are. We're in good hands with this company. They invest every dollar they get back into technology. So, yep, but with technology comes expense, right? So there's a balance there. But, yeah, we're in good hands, and, we're right up there with any of the bigger agencies in South Dakota.
well, with budgeting, for the safety of our patrolmen and for the community, it's money well spent, having the right tools and keeping up with where everything is at. So, I also, another follow-up question.
Can I just make one comment? You brought
Yes.
up budgeting before I forget, is we do have a appropriation clause in there. So if next year, everything crashes and there's no money, we do have an off-ramp. So we're not bound into the 10 years if there's not an appropriation by the council.
Sure. And then also, I guess this would be for either City Manager Steger or Finance Officer Bob Zine, as far as just, you know, the budgeting request and how it looks and on numbers for us as a city.
Yeah, so the budget supplement will come out of our unrestricted fund balance, which is healthy. So there's no impact to the 2025 budget in terms of not being able to cover it. And then, obviously, now that we know the set price, it makes the budgeting for future years pretty stable, so.
Okay, thank you. And then one final thing, for the new council, I thought maybe instead of having a hazing, we could have a tasing.
We are looking for volunteers.
All right. Any further comments? Councilman Allen?
So currently, we have all these tools, but they're on separate contracts.
Correct, yeah.
Do all those contracts expire at the same time?
No, great question, Councilman. They do not. So the body worn camera and tasers are kind of, it's called the TAP program. They're together, so they expire at the end of this year. The fleet cameras expire, I believe, in '27. So the contract does take that into account and credits back those years that we were into that contract. So,
Okay. My other question is, I think I know the answer to this, but do we still have an option of separate contracts? Or have they said, we're bundling these and you no longer have an option for separately contracting for these things?
no, I believe that we could contract separately. Again, the taser and the body cam are, it's an officer safety program, so those are bundled together. As far as the fleet, that's a separate contract. So if we didn't go with fleet, it's a significant decrease, I mean, savings if you bundle it together. And then the ALPRs are free. So that's, if we didn't go with, if the council decided you don't want us to have ALPRs, we just wouldn't have those. So really, the only savings that you're gonna have is the fleet cameras, which I think with this bundle, I think we're gonna save in that point.
My point in asking the question wasn't so much about would it be cheaper to go with separate contracts. It's that this bundling of services is something that we see in lots of different areas. I personally don't like it. For example, I'll use Microsoft or Google or whoever. So if I don't want AI, so I want my Microsoft Word and Excel, but I don't want AI, I don't have that option. And I believe that the reason that they bundled it is because people otherwise wouldn't buy it. And they're investing a lot of money into it, but they're basically forcing us to buy it. And I've shared this with others, but that doesn't feel very good. It feels more like a trap to me than anything else.
Yeah,
and I would say the same thing about my career in higher education. So libraries went to digital everything, and the problem that you have with that is, do you want this journal digitally? And you say, well, that's the only option, so there's no more hardcover, so I have to buy it digitally, and then next year when my budget comes up short and I have to make cuts, and I say, well, okay, I'm not going to buy that journal this year, I no longer have anything. So I don't have, when I bought the hard copies, I would have 10 years of journals that I've already paid for. And that doesn't happen anymore. And this feels to me in many ways the same way. I just feel like and I appreciate Councilman Hoyer asking the question about having AI write reports for police officers. That's going to be really popular for police officers, I think, because generally they don't like to write reports. It's not a strong suit, and so let's just let AI do it. The problem with that, I think, is the number of errors that leak in when that happens. And with no oversight, at what point does the error get caught? And that concerns me. And I'm sure it's probably part of the reason you're not doing that right now.
Sure. So, Mayor?
Yes.
So, a couple things. So the bundling, I completely understand. I've had that feeling, especially 2 months ago when they said they have 73% increase. I'm like, yeah, they have all our data, now we're stuck. But my feeling has changed slightly because every one of the services that they offer in this bundle, we use, and they all work off of each other. So the fleet cameras work off the body cameras, everything works seamlessly. So there's really no option, I mean, it's not costing us any more to use those services. And I really respect Axon. I mean, we're using every part of it. And so with the AI, where it stops is when you have to get up in front of the court and testify that that's your words, right? And if AI wrote it for you, you're going to be embarrassed enough where it's not going to happen. So yeah, oversight on any of these technologies is huge. I mean, it's a full-time job by my command staff to make sure our people are doing the right thing for the right reasons, and we take that very seriously. So AI is not going to have a part, as long as I'm chief, they're not going to have official reports written by AI. Do we all use ChatGPT and those things for doing research and things like that? Sure, but everything has to be verified, and everything has to be, true and accurate, especially when it comes to testifying in court, because we cannot afford to lose a case because AI wrote a report. So I respect that, your opinion on that, and I will be having a watch over that. But that answer your concern a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I
Okay, I get it.
It doesn't, completely obliterate it, but I appreciate that there's a human oversight, because I think we really need human oversight.
Yeah.
We're not at a point where we can do away with that right now.
So as far as the videos are concerned, our officers, our sergeants take at least one video per month per officer and sit down and review that with the officer. So they're constantly in there using those videos for training, and it's really been huge to keep us honest, for one, and really professional.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it, but.
Yeah, again, in the educational world, which is my background, we heavily use things like simulation and other things because the after-action reports that happen as a consequence of that really improve performance of the teams that we put in the field, so.
I think teachers should have body cams.
Well.
The public would be shocked.
I'm sure there's a lot of them that would prefer to have body cams, I don't know. But yeah, so. The only other thing that I'll add to this is, knowing when those contracts were up, I mean, I'm a little stunned to come on and find a $93,000 supplemental budget adjustment, halfway through the year. And I don't know how common that is. I talked to City Manager Stagger about that a little bit today, about where we're at, because it just kind of is like, well, yeah, it's not a problem. We got plenty of money. And I'm thinking, we do? Okay. But it's a little bit shocking to me because I'm not familiar with the budget. And I know that's part of the effort that we're going to make in terms of onboarding, is to become more familiar with the budget. And I think that's a good idea. So, thank you.
I'll also add, Councilman Allen. City Attorney Carrico and I met last week, and we've talked about developing a tickler file on all of our major agreements and contracts, so that we have, as a staff, the ability to look ahead at these contracts, to be prepared to have the discussion well in advance of the next budget cycle.
Thank you. Just a moment, Councilman Hoyer. I just would like to add for all members of the council and the public that by no means should you ever feel bad asking a question about a budget supplement. I've always said that the number one, politicians can speak a big game about what they care for, but in the end, it's where they spend their money is the proof of what they actually care about the most. So by all means, always pay attention to where the money goes, because that shows what the city's priorities are. In this case, I will just say, everyone's heard me say it before, that the number one quality of life issue in any community, especially Watertown, is public safety. So that's why by no means am I going to advocate an absolute blank check for our police department or fire rescue, but by all means, I will definitely be very considerate of things that will improve the safety of the community, but then also the people who enforce the safety. So I want to say thank you for all of that. And in this case, I agree. There's some concerns about the expansion of technology and the changes that it's going to make to everyone's life. But in this case, I can definitely be behind this for what it means to the community. Is there anyone who would like to speak before Councilman Hoyer speaks a second time? Councilman Hoyer.
Okay. I think only two more things here. So in the event that we do have an offboarding with them, I just want to understand and make sure we know, are we able to retrieve our data then, and then we could push it to a server in the event that we had to say something happened to Axon?
Yes, but it will be very expensive.
Right, it's a ton of storage, I understand. And then on top of that, the life cycle of body cams and tasers, because in this, it's a subscription service, just like everything in life nowadays, right?
Well, we own it. but
Okay, we
yes.
do own them.
Yep.
Okay,
But they refresh every 2.5 and then 5 years.
Okay, just making sure I understood that correctly. Yeah, perfect, thank you.
And just so the council knows, that currently our contracts all add up to about $78,000 that we're currently paying. So we're increasing that to $110,000 per year. That's the 40.25% increase.
Thank you. Councilman Jurens.
Thanks, Mayor. I've been reading about this, listening to this type of technology for a while, and was waiting for the day and hoping that Watertown would get this. I think this is exciting technology. I think it's good for our whole community, and I'm ready to support it. The one thing I would like to ask Tim or whoever is on the other side of the fence of this is, are we willing to offset our budget for next year to get this sped through this year?
Chief Toomey, would you be the one to answer that, or?
So, Councilman, are you saying, are we willing to cut other areas of our budget to make up the money for this? Is that, did I misunderstand?
Sorry, Tim, my feed isn't the best on this end. My apologies for being on Teams. My question is it's still money, and it's still the taxpayer money. It's not ours, and we all have the responsibility. We know you're responsible also. Not thinking on those terms at all, but when we drop in the middle of the year this kind of a dollar amount, wondering what kind of things we can do for next year to offset what we've spent this year, to maybe cut somewhere in our expenditures next year. Just wondering if we've given that some thought.
We did, and as a proactive law enforcement agency that we are, we have other things that we would like to ask for, but we're going to be conservative this year and not ask for those things. So we are willing. We're going to take a deep dive into our budget. We understand things are tight, and with a new council and a new city manager, things are going to be looked at very closely. So we'll take a deep dive into our budget and be as conservative as we can be without jeopardizing service to our community.
Any continuation, Councilman Jurens?
No, I'm good.
Would anyone like to speak before Councilman Allen speaks a second time? Councilman Allen.
Just for my own edification, the length of time that you save license plate information is 30 days, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then it disappears?
Unless it's on a hit list, then it's 90 days.
Right, and then the other question is, for the other digital evidence, that's in perpetuity that they save it, or?
No, it's all based on retention values. So for a class 1 misdemeanor, we have to save it for a year. For a class 2 misdemeanor, it has to be saved for 30 days. So when our officers are done with a stop or an arrest or whatever, they go on and they label it as what's appropriate. If it's a felony, it's 2 years. So they label it, and then it's an automatic deletion at the end of.
At the end of that?
Yep. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Peters? No? Any further questions or comments? Councilman Peters?
Chief, thank you for that presentation, though. That was very well done and thought out. That was one of the better ones we've seen. Thank you for that.
Thank you. I thought I stumbled through it, so I appreciate that.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the budget supplement. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, nay. Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay. Allen?
Aye.
Hoyer?
Aye.
Helene?
Aye.
Mormon?
Aye.
Jurens?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Shetty?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 11C is an approval of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Watertown and Elmira Township for agreement on road maintenance. We'll go to our city manager, Alan Steger.
Council members, before you tonight, we have a memorandum of understanding with Elmira Township. This memorandum was created as a joint effort between our engineering team and our community development team, as well as the supervisors of Elmira Township. The agreement addresses some shared roadways that we have around the fringes of the community. It has designated which entity will be responsible for ongoing maintenance of roadways that are along the borders of the community. Essentially, the city is agreeing to take responsibility for those roadways that currently are in areas of imminent development, that it makes sense for us to assume the responsibility for the roadway. From a practical reason, the township doesn't have the resources to maintain these roadways, and so this really facilitates the development by the city stepping in these areas that development is taking place and are most likely to be annexed into the city in the very near future. This agreement has an exhibit. You can see the map showing where the specific roadways are, and that exhibit will be updated every 2 years as the bounds of the city continue to change and evolve, so that we do have the responsibilities documented for those particular areas. I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding. Motion made by Councilman Shetty, seconded by Councilman Peters. Questions or comments, council? Councilman Allen.
Because I'm near the Third Avenue and J&J's development there, does this give them the permission to alter the road itself? For example, I know they're trying to go underneath Third Avenue to connect to, I think it's sewer and water maybe, or water. So can they alter the road? I've also heard they want to lower the road by 9 feet. I don't know if that's true or not, and maybe Brandy or Justin can answer that question. But my just concern is about, can they just do what they want now?
I don't believe they can do whatever they want. They still need a permit. And Brandy and Justin can fill in the details. But the first step in that permit is this agreement to determine which entity has responsibility to ultimately issue a permit.
Right, okay, thank you.
Manager Hanton.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Allen, for the question. So this does fall into, basically, we do have approved construction plans for the development to the south of Third Avenue Northeast that, but we still, that's why we're putting this in place, to have the understanding with the township as a joint jurisdiction road of Third Avenue, so that they, obviously the impact of the development on the township road, gets expensive and it's usually generated, the wear and tear is generated by city traffic. So, this would allow for, I mean, and we'd have to see too, because I believe the township still has, like, they still will issue the access permit because it still is their right of way. We have not annexed it, but this kind of gives us that mutual understanding with both entities that everything will be taken care of.
Any follow-up, Councilman? Any other questions or comments, council? I'd just like to say thank you for your work on this. I know that there has been some contention over the last several years. And I would also like to say that I would like to thank the Watertown Street Department, among other entities in the city, for they have stepped up and done some work on those roads in the last several years that the city has not asked nor received credit for, such as dealing with the dust and some of the maintenance on things like that. So this is just to solidify how we're going to move forward into areas that we do believe the city of Watertown will be moving into next as far as annexation and growth. So thank you for your work on this. The motion is to approve the memorandum of understanding. If you're in favor of that, you'll say aye. If you're opposed, you'll say nay. Officer Bobzien.
Okay. Allen? Aye. Hoyer?
Aye.
Helene?
Aye.
Mormon?
Aye.
Jurens?
Aye.
Peters? Shetty?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Motion carries. We're on to city council member announcements and introduction of topics for future discussion. Any councilman have anything you'd like to say? Councilman Hoyer.
Thank you. Something that I would like us to maybe look at and address going forward, just with the new location of City Hall and where we have the traffic flow going now, we now have a lot more traffic going out this alley this way. If there was anything we could do as a mitigation or just an extra safety piece to put any kind of like mirroring for around the corner on that sidewalk there. I've just noticed there have been some incidents with pedestrians coming around that corner and vehicles coming up pretty quick. And so it just feels like we're taking on a little more risk than maybe we need to. Something as simple as a mirrored pole that lets you look around the corner. They can see you, you can see them. I think it'd be a really good safety measure for us going forward. Maybe just something to consider.
I gotta say, that's a pretty good idea, because I was pulling out going that way earlier today, and there was a large pickup, and I had to keep inching forward and forward to the point where my car was all the way into the roadway before I could see if anyone was coming from the other direction. So I think that could be a pretty prudent safety measure.
Yep, there's some good blind spots there.
Yeah.
So.
Any other council comments, discussion? Any city manager report?
Just with the new council members, we have an onboarding package that you should have received, as well as your computers. And I'll visit with you after the meeting in terms of your availability to do some more in-depth onboarding with the city staff.
Thank you. All right, we have no reason to go into executive session. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Shetty. Any comment on that? Hearing none, the motion is to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Good night and God bless you, Watertown.